Economics for Everyone, Micro and Macro by Stanley Thuku Waithaka. Movement along the demand curve and shifts of the demand curve. Movements along the demand curve are caused by change in the price of the product, ceteris paribus. Whenever there is a movement along the demand curve, we explain it as a change in the quantity demanded. The demand curve remains the same, is only a movement along the same curve. This is different from change in demand. Whenever we talk about a change in demand, we are referring to a shift of the demand curve. In this case, the demand curve will either shift to the right or to the left. When a change in any of the factors of demand other than the price of the product, there will be a shift of the demand curve. A change in any of the factors of demand other than the price of the product will shift the demand curve. The demand curve will either shift to the right or to the left. Whenever the demand curve shifts to the right, we say that there is an increase in demand. And whenever it shifts to the left, we say that there is a decrease in demand. Note, we don't use the word quantity demanded here. And this shift of the demand curves are caused by factors such as incomes of the consumer, taste of the consumer, price of a related good, numbers in the household. When any of these factors change, there will be a shift in the demand curve. Note, price is not changing here. It is any of the other factors that are changing. And when this happens, we say that the demand has changed, i.e., there is an increase or decrease in demand. What we are saying here is that at the same price, more or less will be demanded than before. And this causes a shift of the demand curve, as we are going to see. Let's look at the graph in front of us, which explains the movement along the demand curve. This is a demand for a product like tomatoes. The demand curve for a product like tomatoes. And what has happened in this case is that the price of tomatoes has fallen from 4 to 3. Could be 4 pula or $4 to 3. Now, when that happens, according to the law of demand, the quantity demanded goes up. Note, we are using the word quantity demanded. It increases from 6 to 9, as you can see on the graph. And what has happened to the demand curve is that the curve has not changed at all. What has happened is that when the price was at 4, the quantity demanded was 6, The 2 points were meeting at point A along the demand curve. But when the price fell to 3, the quantity demanded increased to 9, from 6 to 9. And the 2, 3 and 9 are meeting at point B. So as far as the demand curve is concerned, there is only a movement along the demand curve and not a shift of the demand curve. So as we can see there, we will say that the quantity demanded has increased from 6 to 9. We have to use the word quantity demanded to differentiate this type of action from a shift in the demand curve. Now, let's look at another scenario. Let's look at another scenario where we are going to see a shift in the demand curve and also a movement along the demand curve. We are going to take two products, butter and margarine. And from our earlier knowledge, we know that butter and margarine are substitutes. If you use one, you don't need to use the other one. They serve the same purpose. They give the same satisfaction. And we want to explain a situation whereby the price of one changes and how it's going to affect the demand for the other. So in one case, the price will change. In the other case, the price will not change, but there will be price of a related product changing. In this case, we are assuming that the price of butter has gone up, as you can see on the graph. When the price of butter goes from 15 to 18, and you can see that arrow, the quantity demanded falls from 30 to 25, as you can see. And there is a movement along the demand curve from point A to point B. There's a movement along the demand curve from point A to point B. The price went up from 15 to 18. So at 15, the demand curve was meeting the quantity at, the quantity and the price were meeting at point A. And when the price went up to 18, the price and the quantity were meeting at point B. So there is a movement along the demand curve from point A to point B. This is just a movement. Remember, we say that movements are caused by change in the price of a good. And it is the price of butter which has changed. But when you look at margarine, it is not the price of butter margarine which is changing. For margarine, it is the price of butter, which is a related product, changing. And as we explained earlier, shifts of the demand curve will be caused by any other factor other than the price of that good. In this case, it is the price of a related good which is changing. And when that price of a related good, which is now butter, changes, the price of butter went up, the price of margarine is the same, people will find margarine cheaper. So they'll go for the substitute, which is margarine. So at the same price, as you can see on the graph, instead of people buying quantity 20, they are going to go for quantity 30. They'll buy more at the same price. And this means the demand curve now will move to that new point. And it will be parallel, because even there, all the other prices, the behavior will still be the same. It will be parallel to the first demand curve, which is DO. And we call it D1. And you can see the arrow is pointing outwards, meaning that the demand curve shifts to the right. The demand curve shifts to the right, as we can see. And it will be vice versa if the price of butter went down. If the price of butter went down, butter would be cheaper than margarine, and therefore at the same price people buy less margarine than before. So the demand curve will shift to the left, and we'll say there is a fall in demand. Remember, not quantity demanded, we are talking about a fall in demand. A similar case can be explained where we have complementary goods. Complementary goods are goods that are demanded together, such as bread and margarine. Thank you for watching this video. Please remember to click on the like and the subscribe button below. The book is on special at Amazon.com for only $1.99 US. Feel free to give your comment and keep tuned for the next video.